Hammer didn't get it. The area seemed a waste of space, and it was directly conflicting with the work his team had been given. He started poking around the area in his off time, finding only a derelict steel door and a great span of concrete just beyond. It was a supermarket's worth of blank gray floor. Soon after, Hammer started picking gascots around the crowds. Unlike all the other reports, the people, the things would stand in a view of the guy. They cluster together in the distance, or they'd just be pressed against a wall when he turned a corner. He said they moved weird, like they were weak or injured, like a deer that has been run down by a hunter and can't flee anymore. The gas mask, the Disney character faces with the filters jammed in, he noted that they seemed wet on the inside, like condensation on a car window. Tiny beads of water glimmered behind the glass, making it impossible for any of them to actually see. Probing further, Hammer started asking questions of Moore and everyone who had been working in the park for a decade or more. He hit dead ends throughout until he was directed to Ida, an elderly woman who worked in a restaurant on Main Street. She had been there since way back, and though nobody had the balls to ask directly, everyone knew she had plenty of terrible stories to tell. Hammer asked about the empty space, then about the gas mask customers, and at first he thought he would received the same non-answers he'd gotten so far. She was quiet, eerily quiet. "Room zero," she croaked, a single shaking hand placed to her cheek as if she was a little girl fearing a father's punishment. She didn't meet the man's gaze for the entire conversation. Room zero, as it turned out, was yet another hidden room, just like the apartments of and Club 22. However, its sheer size and its spots deep beneath the park set it apart from any of the fun, dark zones. It was a bomb shelter. Room zero was built to withstand a massive attack, be it conducted by foreign or domestic enemies. Room Zero was to be stocked with enough rations to feed the entire park's average number of patrons at any given moment. He and housed a smaller yet lavish panic room of sorts for Disney higher-ups. During World War II, official Disney gas masks were actually produced for children to wear in the event of an attack. The idea was that it would be less scary for kids if Mickey's face was emblazoned on the wartime safety device. Yes, I know the obvious problems with that. During the Cold War scare of the 60s, when Disney World was constructed, Room Zero was stoked with similar masks as well. Whether they cared about the fears of children or just callous branding, the things found their way down here. What's more, some genius decided that kids would then be frightened by the gas mask their parents wore, and so all masks, adult, child, were made to comply to this insane standard. Ida described it as treating a wound with lemon juice. None of this explained what Hammer had been seeing, though, not only the seemingly supernatural appearances, but the emptied out room as well. "I've been there," he explained. "There's nothing but a cement floor and four walls." "No," Ida shook her head and covered her mouth, stifling a sob. "You've been on top of it." Something or Someone or something sounded the alarm one day when the park was at the full capacity. The wearing of clear, it was supposedly an air attack. Security ushered everyone down, down, into the tremendous shelter. There was ordered to put on their mask and hunker down for the duration for the assault. Everything was quiet for about 30 minutes, save for the crying children and the frightened whispers. No one wanted to die, and so they were thankful in a way for this strange measure of safety. Then the first scream hang out. "Hey," a man shouted, "quit pinching." Waves of shrieks and yelps rippled through the crowd, from one wall to the other, back and forth. "Who is running around? Settle down," someone hollered. "Who is laughing? This isn't funny." "Ow, who stepped on my foot?" Despite security guards urging to calm down and keep their cool, the crowd became more and more agitated until, finally, after nearly an hour of madness, the lights flickered, then died. What followed the child could be described as utter chaos. In the dark, only the wails of the young and the anguished cries of adults could be heard in a massive swelling din that blooded the ears of all within that black echo chamber. A group of staff members and a select few patrons made it out the door, ready to face the war above rather than the insanity below. What they found, of course, was a desolate yet untouched theme park. The music continued to play, echoing through the silent storybook towns. Upon returning to room zero, the few who stood at the top of the steel staircase that led down to the pitch blackness heard no sign of previous tray. There was only silence. Ida herself descended that staircase, despite the begging of those she left above. She reached to reinforced doors, herself now awash in darkness and hearing only the buzzing in her ears. A single voice came out of the darkness. The echo made it impossible to tell whether the mocking, raspy voice was at the back of the bomb shelter, or if it was right in the front of her face. "Shut the door, dear. You're letting out the cold." Gripped by terror, she just did that. Within days, the entire thing, shelter, staircase, all of it, was covered with feet upon feet of cement. Air systems and generators above its ceiling were removed, creating the large empty space. "They're all still down there," Ida told Hammer. "Down there with whoever that was. You might notice I've used Ida's name. Unfortunately, she passed away soon after telling her story. Accidental fall, supposedly after getting out of bed to turn on the light. Such accompanied the vote, the paper reported that her entire bedroom was covered with Mickey silhouettes."